Hello, everyone. What is going on? Good evening. Salutations. Happy week one of the NFL season to all of you. It's great to be with you. And this is the next digital chapter in all of our lives right here. A veritable Houston Texans digital Mount Rushmore of content going on right here on your laptop, iPad, and iPhone screens, or wherever you're watching this. It is a pleasure to be with you here on a Monday night on what's going to be a regular occurrence throughout the season and the postseason as well. My name is Sean Pendergast of Sports Radio 610, Payne and Pendergast. And of course, I know many of you who have subscribed to this channel already know who these folks are. To my right on the screen, on your screen, is Landry Locker, of course, from the Locker Room with Landry Locker and SNL Texans Talk. He co-hosts that with the man below me on the screen right here. That would be Cody Stutes of Houston Football with Cody Stutes, streaming two of the best at streaming Texans content that you'll find. And then, of course, just catty corner to me over there is Reggie Atatula, midday host on Sports Radio 610 on In the Loop, colleague of mine, does a fantastic job as well. Gentlemen, this is fantastic. I've been excited about this for a long, long time. Unfortunately, I don't think this is going to be necessarily a celebration of Texans football tonight because of what they handed to us yesterday. But it is great to be with all of you guys, no doubt about that. So let's get started. Let's get cracking. I don't know what you guys have seen out there, but certainly from the interaction I had on the postgame show and on Payne and Pendergast today, the talk after yesterday's 14-9 loss to the Los Angeles Rams has centered almost entirely around the offensive side of the football, where we were hoping to get this unveiling of something that looked new at least. We didn't expect it maybe to look great, but look new. And it sure did look like a lot of the old stuff that was ailing this team last year. Quarterback pressures, penalties, CJ Stroud maybe being a little jittery, all of those things. So let's start kicking it around. I mean, where did you guys see, in terms of the offense at least, what disappointed you most about what you guys saw from the offensive side of the football yesterday?
For me, it's obvious to start at the offensive line, but quite frankly, I've come to expect that. And I think it's unrealistic to expect this to be a good offensive line. The frustrating thing for me was the running back rotation. I thought the running back rotation was very disappointing. You traded up for Woody Marks, and he barely sees the field. Dare Ogunbowale, I like him. I've always said my line is about Dare Ogunbowale. If everybody maximized their potential like Dare Ogunbowale, there would not be a single underachiever in the world. So I got to preface it with that. But with that said, he doesn't need to be, when you have 41 yards to go in less than 2 minutes, he doesn't need to be the guy that you insert into the lineup. Woody Marks' superpower is catching the football. He's one of the most productive catchers of the football in recent college football history. He's very capable of it. So you trade up for the guy, and Dare Ogunbowale has a catch before the fumble, but Woody Marks could have made that play too. And that for me is the problem, is that the running back rotation, I think, is completely out of whack. And I'm not even mentioning Dameon Pierce. At some point, you just got to quit that, because yesterday was actually what we've seen. We talk about the offensive line. Yesterday was what we've seen from Dameon Pierce the last 2 years as well. So for me, it's easy to say the offensive line, but I kind of expected it. I expected Nick Caley to at least shuffle the committee a little bit better at the running back position.
Yeah, I think that I'll go ahead and take the low-hanging fruit, since you've left that for me. No, the offensive line, and maybe not necessarily in the way of, pass blocking. I think that the high end of the talent pool when this offensive line was clearly going to be a lot lower than we would have hoped. It was very evident by the way that they handled the offseason that they were just going to hope that there was a collective nature with this offensive line. They were going to just band together and, be able to raise the boats, I guess, in a way. But for me, the nastiness, kind of talking point that's been up there, the effort and the grit and the grind and all of that, whatever other cliches you want to throw in there, it didn't show up when it was time to try and get push on the front line. That was the thing that was most frustrating for me. I get that you're talking about with the running backs. It didn't help when none of them, or when all of them are running into the back of number 71, because there's no hole being created by the push. That was the most frustrating thing, although it's a lot of frustrating things in ways that you probably could have foreseen coming in. It was just none of them ended up on the positive side of the delta. It was all the negative side of the delta on the offense, it felt like.
Look, to be the number one Nick Caley guy and have been waving the Nick Caley foam finger before Bobby Slowick even got fired. Nick Caley having that performance where it looked like a lot of BS, Bobby Slowick out there, that was not good. Okay. I did not like that from Nick Caley all preseason long. How about that quick game? Get the ball out of CJ Stroud's hands, those quick routes where the guys just turn around, they're open, they're ready. And I guess those were all just designed for Christian Kirk, who wasn't available in this game. There wasn't a lot of that out of this offense. And then somehow, some way, coming from the Los Angeles Rams that found way after way after way after way to get the ball to Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua for the 2 years that Nick Caley was in Los Angeles. Nick Caley couldn't figure out a way to get the ball to Nico Collins on a consistent basis. I don't know how one of the top receivers in all of football gets 5 targets. I'm looking around all these other receiver numbers across the league. CeeDee Lamb's in double-digit targets. Malik Neighbors is in double-digit targets. And it's like, yeah, I know the ball's going to those guys too. They still found out a way to get the ball at those guys. Just a handful of targets for Nico Collins. As the Nick Caley guy, Nick Caley was very disappointing.
Well, and you're talking, Cody, about teams when you're throwing Malik Neighbors and other names around. You're talking about guys that are just as alone in terms of the talent level on their teams, maybe even more so as Nico Collins is, with less talented quarterback play, and they're still finding ways at least to target those guys. Just to give you a number, last year, Nico Collins didn't get targeted fewer than 6 times in any of the games that he played a full game in last year. The 2 games he got targeted less than 6 times, not 5, was the Buffalo game where he left in the first quarter and the Tennessee game in Week 18 when he left in the first quarter after he got over the 1,000-yard mark. And even in that game, he got 5 targets in the first quarter of that game. But say all you want about Bobby Slowick, he never found a way to not get the ball to Nico Collins. That to me is the biggest – that's the biggest malpractice going on, because there are ways you can get the ball in his hands without him having to run go routes or run deep crossers or anything. Like run some – you're finally able to run a wide receiver screen confidently after not being able to do it for 3 years. They run to him one time. Run a jet sweep, run something to get the ball in the hands of your best playmaker, man.
And I think that we could be facing a situation where the opposing D coordinators are going to be tan. They're going to take away Nico because for whatever reason, one of the big mysteries that I've noticed is that it doesn't seem like they really try to do that very often. Like for whatever reason, like even when Nico's cooking, it doesn't seem like he gets a lot of attention. And I do wonder if – I don't want to say it's a blueprint after week 1, but if that was the approach, and CJ said after the game that they were putting guys over the top and there was some robber, if that's what they're going to do, then this could be a sign of things to come. And then you got to figure out what you're going to do with these other receivers. I wasn't bullish on these receivers, but I was at least intrigued. The Texans had 3 inactive slot receivers yesterday. Only 2 were official. Barrios and Christian Kirk, they were officially inactive. We didn't see anything from Jaylen Noel.
Yeah, no, it was very evident that as much as they have young guys on this team, they just did not opt to put too much trust in them. Like, that's very evident. They decided we are going to lean on veteran leadership. You talked about Dare. That's one of those things over Woody Marks. They went with Justin Watson in the slot a lot as you kept going, with over a Christian Kirk, who seemed, I mean, you guys were all at camp. We were standing around. Seemed like Jaylen Noel did a great job of getting open at any given point. It feels like they just really went with more conservative values, as that feels like that trickles down from a defensive head coach all the way around. It was just conservative all the way around. To the point of Nico Collins, though, I was just going back and watching literally every pass play that I could find when it comes to all 22. And it feels like the bigger thing is not even just the takeaway Nico, is take away underneath stuff. It feels like everything, we are sitting low because we know that you're not going to have time to let nothing develop more than 12, 15 yards down the field. So we're going to have this linebacker cheat over and get underneath you. We're going to let all these, like these cornerbacks, you know, be in that flat area. And we're just going to take that away, and we're going to see if CJ Stroud can make the right decisions. And that's the thing that's more scary to me even. Like, I understand you got to get Nico going. What happens if nobody can get going because everybody, they're sitting on all the underneath stuff?
Yeah, that's where the counterpunch comes in. Where's the counterpunch from Nick Caley? He's got all this experience that we loved as a part of the profile for him. And, I mean, would it have killed him to mix in a screen to the running back, use some of that aggressiveness of the Rams defensive line against them? It was a pretty uninspiring offensive performance in a lot of the areas where it was pretty uninspiring in 2024. And that's where it's the most disappointing. And I know you didn't have high expectations for the offensive line, but God, I expected them to be a little bit better, right? Just a tiny bit. And it didn't look like it was.
Can I give you one of the things that was a little disappointing in a way that is kind of understandable though? Is CJ Stroud is shouldering more responsibility. I was kind of disappointed that, this is the new CJ Stroud with his reins in his hands. And there were still a number of times where there was not an ability to pick up or have the right pass protections. Maybe they were getting to the line late, but he was not able to, call a timeout in a place where you have 7 guys showing at the line that they might
corner blitz, man. That
right?
Corner blitz.
There's not enough motion to help him diagnose what's happening pre-snap. And I understand in the modern era, a lot of this stuff is happening post-snap that you also have to see, but at least get the stuff pre-snap. It just felt like he looked like he was going through the motions in the same way as last year as well. And obviously that's to be expected as he's getting a handle of handling, all these things at the line of scrimmage as a signal caller on the field. But it felt like he was further along he wasn't as far along in his development as I would have hoped.
Yeah, and I thought that was an interesting assumption. Like we heard, CJ Stroud's going to get more control at the line of scrimmage. And I'm not sitting here making a blanket statement about it and saying that it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think almost the way, and maybe it has to do with the disgust that a lot of people had with Bobby Slowick last year, including myself. But it to assume that that's automatically a good thing, I think it's not based on anything that we've actually seen. And I know that all of a sudden, like we're talking about last year's system, we were geeked up to see that system. And that system worked 2 years ago. And it ended up falling out for a number of reasons. But it does feel like there was a narrative that, CJ Stroud's going to have more control at the line of scrimmage. That could end up being an awesome thing. I'm not dismissing it. I'm not sitting here pointing to specific things, but it might not be. And it might actually require maybe some actual experience doing it before we actually see if or what the benefits would look like.
Well, Landry, he told you last week when he tries to get on the same page with the receiver, he learns a lot from failure. Plenty of failure to learn from out of this one.
They learned like a mug today.
He said himself after the game, I misdiagnosed. First, it was one thing, and then he goes, "Well, there's a couple of them." It's like, okay, all right. So you got room to improve with the reins in your hands, so to speak. I get it.
Think about that, though, guys. Think about the 8 ball that puts the team behind, though. If this is something that's going to be a work in progress all year long, we're coming up on an off season next year. I don't get too far ahead of ourselves because it's week 1 of the regular season.
Damn.
Draft. All right.
No. No, but I mean, there's a $200 million, $300 million decision coming down the road. You get to the end of 2025 and we're still not sure if this is the guy who knows how to push all the right buttons on this offense. That's that injects some risk into what is going to be a major decision for this team. It's my way of saying I hope that's not the case. Like CJ seems to be a supremely intelligent football player. I hope that's not the case.
We didn't see much of in 2024 that we saw a couple times in 2023 was after a game where you just didn't love the performance from CJ. You didn't love the performance from the offense. There were some games where they just went boom and just bounced back. And ironically, against Tampa is probably the best example in Stroud's career. Coming off of Carolina, they play Tampa the next week, and they are just unloading on the Buccaneers.
And all the talk that week, Cody, was we got to take more deep shots. That whole week after that Bryce Young game, after that game where they lost to that horrible Carolina team, the talk at all the press conferences that week was CJ almost egging Bobby Slowick on to take more shots downfield. And it happened in the next 2 games, really, because it was that Tampa game in week 9, and then they go to Cincinnati in week 10, and they put up 30 in that game as well, which is probably to this point, that's probably the peak of CJ Stroud's career as this going to go get the job done. What we were hoping we were going to see yesterday before Dario Gumbawale fumbled the football, right? Okay, Tampa/Cincinnati, CJ, man, let's go on a drive here. We have not seen that really since that middle part of his rookie season in terms of being a guy that just is a guy that scares other teams from leaving time on the clock. Tampa left him 46 seconds and he went the length of the field to score a touchdown. And that's what I said Monday, the day after that game. I'm like, not only do we have a quarterback, we have one of those quarterbacks that teams now have to manage the clock and make sure they don't leave any time left for that guy. And that guy has not come through the door, really, I don't think, since the middle part of his rookie season, doing that kind of stuff.
No, and I almost wonder if there's like a certain level of overthinking with CJ. And Stu, you brought this up this morning on SNL. Guys don't have to be wide open for you to throw him the rock. Now, in his defense, he did give Higgins a chance to make a play yesterday, and at the very worst, that's got to be an incomplete pass. But every time like they don't throw a deep ball, you hear CJ go to the press conference. It's like, well, they were guarding this way, and they had the guy over the top. It's like, I'm sure a lot of quarterbacks face that type of coverage, and they find ways to at least take shots down the field. So I don't know if it's overthinking. I don't know if there's like some sort of way that teams are attacking CJ, but you're absolutely right, Sean. Like it's one of the most basic things in broadcasting where if there's an elite quarterback, they left him too much time. Yeah. That hasn't been the case lately with CJ Stroud. And you're absolutely right about it. And I don't know what the heck it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of things going. You can almost see the gears churning in his head as he's looking at things, right? Like there's just so many things that he's dealing with on top of what is very clearly at this point. And I shouldn't say at this point because it was all last year, a distrust in his offensive line. CJ Stroud is going to say the right thing, but there's on the chat, there's a number of people talking about CJ Stroud running backwards into sacks when in all reality, he should be stepping up into a pocket. Mind you, a middle of the offensive line that in pass protection wasn't terrible. Of course, on the graded curve that we have to grade this offensive line on, but he will he should step forward, I think, in some instances, but he is unwilling to do that. He learned his lesson last year. You beat him into submission. And so there might be some unlearning that's necessary there for him to find some trust with the offensive line and not feel like he has to put all of this on his shoulders.
Yeah. And you mentioned, go ahead, Suits.
I wonder if there's some, I'm going to take off and screw it to him too. Cause we saw him spin out of one yesterday and make a play. And then there were a couple of times where it's not like it's designed runs when CJ gets out there. Like he goes out there and just takes off. So it is one of the annoying parts of CJ is if he's taking a sack, that's probably a 10-yard sack. Like
Sean, you had a good stat on that.
Yeah. So yesterday's game, each quarterback took 3 sacks in the game. Matt Stafford took 3 sacks for 21 yards. You can live with a 5 or a 6 or a 7-yard sack, especially when you're Matt Stafford. That's still a manageable situation. CJ, it feels like, just takes a bad situation and finds a way to make it worse with all these sacks. Like the momentum's already coming backwards 7 or 8 yards. I feel like he feels the need to tack on 5 or 6 more yards. And he did. His 3 sacks were 13, 12, and 12 yards. Those are, for this team, those are absolute killers. That's the other thing that's really changed. There was a time with CJ Stroud where I didn't really care if it was 3rd and 16. I thought there was some magic in that right arm that was going to go get an 18-yard play. And that's gone too. Like it's the first drive when Cam Robinson gets the holding penalty on the first play from scrimmage of the game, and you can argue whether or not it was a good call or a bad call. The bottom line is the call was made. And so whether it's a good call or bad call, the gods don't discriminate. You're 1st and 20 and you're the 2025 Houston Texans. Is not really equipped to go to handle those types of situations. There was a time where I felt I wasn't scared of down and distance with CJ Stroud. Those days are gone. They're gone. Until further notice, they're gone.
And my moment where I kind of realized, okay, this is even worse than anticipated. Because for me, if the offense a chance to score within one possession, then I think you should feel okay about it with late in the game. But for me, the moment where I realized, okay, this might be worse was where Sean McVay basically disrespected the offense. And on 3rd and 11, he said, I'm going to run, I'm going to punt, and y'all aren't going to do a damn thing about it. So I thought when McVay decided to basically run and boot the ball, that was where I realized, okay, he has no respect for this offense. Maybe one possession is 5 points is enough for them to win this game.
Yeah. In all reality, why should he though? Like this is a first-time play caller with a lot of young playmakers within it, with an offensive line that is only really going to give you 2 seconds to really try and do anything. So you're not going to have anything develop. You don't have the make a little something out of nothing running back that you typically have. Where's the danger? Where's the hot stove? Like there's nothing here that is actually dangerous for a defensive play caller. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that's scary about it, because the one guy that you look at as being the most dangerous, at least that is available to you right now, he requires that offensive line, that quarterback, all of those other things to go well in order to get the ball in his hands and do things.
All right, I've got a comment here I want to bring in, but this is the folks running this thing here have basically put the drunk guy in charge of the cockpit of the airplane. So let's see what
that's how I like my planes.
Here. Let's see what happens here. Okay,
we lost names. Okay, very good.
Yeah. Okay, hang on. Hang on. I want to bring up a comment from the chat here that Champ Slice had.
Landry, I see your point about giving more responsibility to the quarterback. I understand it now. I didn't understand it until just
I'm
now.
CJ at the line right now.
Yeah.
I am CJ at the line. All right. Well, I may just have to read it then.
Sean's checking in to run plays on 3rd and 11.
Yeah.
He's like, hold on.
Blitz. Why is Amy blitzing me right now? What the hell's going on here? All right, I'm gonna read it for this. But Champ Slice makes the point that and the reason I'm bringing this up is because Landry, you had a comment in our sort of rundown text that we did, the four of us before this, where you mentioned you might see this Dare situation as a positive, and I'm assuming what you mean is his involvement in the offense down the stretch of the game. I'm assuming that's what you mean. Champ Slice says that he'd like to see more Woody Marks. Why are we seeing Dameon Pierce and Dare Gumbawale in the fourth quarter of football games? I think is a very valid question.
Yeah, this was kind of O'Brien-like. I'm not trying to say that Nick Caley's Bill O'Brien, but this felt, and even D'Amico, this felt Bill O'Brien-like. And back in the day, Bill O'Brien used to say the rookies don't know anything. They don't know anything. They don't know what they're doing. And you traded up for two guys at areas of need, cornerback and running back, and neither one of them, one of these guys had anything to do with the game. Like, you look at the snap count, nothing happened. In both of those areas, you struggled. You still have Jaylen Pitre out there trying to cover guys in the slot. You have Dare Gumbawale at the end of the game. And I think it's good to have this as one of Dare Gumbawale's signature moments, because quite frankly, the Tampa Bay game has been over romanticized. Like, he made a field goal cool. They do that on College Game Day every Saturday with some drunk guy who just did a kick change. Okay, so we're romanticizing this guy because he does what a bunch of drunk frat boys do every freaking Saturday. Awesome. He's a good special teamer. That doesn't mean that he keeps the running back that you traded for that has a superpower off the field. So I think it's good to kind of balance what Dare Gumbawale is, fine in emergency situations, with what he is. Also, you don't want him out there when it really, really matters and you have your full running backs. I'm glad this happened, honestly, and I hope they use the lesson wisely.
Landry kind of hinted at Jaylen Smith a little bit there too. Like, they traded up for Jaylen Smith. He's the third cornerback on this team. He's the backup behind Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter. They had a guy who they thought was going to be the third corner retire and never really replaced him with a player of note. And Jaylen Smith had some nice moments in the preseason. We know he can cover, like he showed it in the preseason. And it's like, well, instead of putting Jaylen Smith on the field, let's have Jaylen Pitre try to cover, and we'll just keep our cornerbacks the same. It's like, to put this guy on the field, they were pumped about him. Nico Ryan said it felt like he was a Texan when they interviewed him before they could even draft him. They traded up for him. Most people thought he was a fifth-round pick. They got him in the third round. Can he get on the field more than 5 defensive snaps?
Is there – this is for all you guys, as far as, you know, whoever wants to take it as far as Pitre goes. But they just gave him a new contract in the offseason. I mean, they're paying him $13 million a year now. They're paying him $13 million a year. Is there and I think we've seen by now, he's in year 4, that coverage is going to be an issue. I don't think he's all of a sudden go to Derek Stingley's Hawaii camp and all of a sudden become a good cover guy out of the slot. Is there a role on this team for Jaylen Pitre where he justifies $13 million a year?
No.
Hell no.
The answer is no. It was a weird extension when he got it. Why not make him do it at least twice? And it just doesn't make sense. Like, I get it. To me, it was an excellent job by D'Amico Ryans to turn that defense into your base defense with Jaylen Pitre as the nickel guy. I thought he did an excellent job of adjusting. I didn't know this was going to be permanent once Christian Harris was back. And here's the other thing. I'm hard pressed to criticize D'Amico Ryans as a defensive coach. But the reality is, just like Reggie said, we're grading the offensive line on a curve. I'm grading the defense like they're in an honors class, to the point where I almost look at that game and say, you got to stop them on 4th and 1 if you want a chance to win the game. Like, if I'm going to grade the offensive line on a curve, then I'm going to hold the defense to a higher standard. Yes, you're the only team in the NFL that allowed 14 points or less and lost the game. But I don't understand why in an obvious passing situation that Jaylen Pitre's out there. And not only is he out there, he's out there after a timeout, and he's in man on Puka Nacua. As soon as, if you're a Texans fan and you turn it off as soon as the game is done, or you're one of those people that leaves the game early, as soon as you saw Pitre.
Landry, your mic.
Yeah, that connection's been kind of going in and out a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, so Landry's point about Pitre ending up on Puka Nacua in the moment where Sean McVay's going to throw the football, that you can't have that. Like you gotta know that's coming. You gotta know that's the matchup they want. And they couldn't find anybody to cover Nacua yesterday. Didn't matter.
Sorry, Cody, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But as long as we're talking, do you think that the Texans thought for sure they were throwing the football on 3rd and 8? I mean, it was down. The Texans had a timeout left. They're trying to drain the clock and make the Texans use timeouts at that point. An incomplete pass there stops the clock for the Texans.
You have to at least have had the conversation in the huddle, where it's like, hey, watch out for the play action, or watch out for the pass here. And if you watch the couple of plays before, they run something pretty similar to what they ultimately run when they throw it. And, I'm sure that Pitre maybe was lulled into a sense of like, okay, they're going to run it and kick it, but one first down ends the game. And he certainly got to Nacua in a way where it felt like he thought it was going to be a run play. And Puka's running and he's open, and it's a first down for Puka Nacua, and the Rams are winning this football game.
Yeah. So fellas, I
hated that contract extension. I hated the way that they spent money on some of these defensive guys over the course of the offseason. And I don't know that there's like a bunch of great names, but I would have much rather them thrown $10 million at some guard that had played some decent amount of football for someone else than give Pitre an extension, break off Danielle Hunter for a giant amount of money, and then burn $4 million and set it on fire on Nick Neiman, who didn't even make this freaking team. So, Petre's got at the head of shouldn't have done this contract extension, should have spent your money some other way.
By the way, Cody, his name is Kevin Zeitler.
Exactly.
But
job,
I hear what you guys are talking about when it comes to like coverage. The problem is you'd be asking D'Amico Ryans to abandon the defense that got you to this place. Like the whole idea of this defense is we do what we do. We just do it to an incredible level. And part of that is having the physicality that they want. And unless you want to see more based coverage where you have 3 linebackers out there, which maybe you do. I mean, that's possible, especially when you have someone like Christian Harris who can fly around when he's healthy. But I think the thing with Jaylen Pitre is that Jaylen Pitre gives you that feeling of I have 3 linebackers on the field while giving me a facsimile of coverage. The problem is it's not real when you get to like an instance of a Devontae Adams moving into the slot or Puka Nacua getting into the slot. And I think really and truly, unless you're going to get D'Amico Ryans to change his defense, which again, I have a hard time believing you're going to do because he has enough data points to go, this works to a high degree, whether it's here or even going back to San Francisco. He's going to want to have that physicality over, I guess, like that lockdown corner in the nickel spot. So I think in that instance, Pitre is the best case of that, but I think you're right. You're going to have instances where you're capable of guarding someone in the slot who is better than just a replacement level receiver.
I do want to make a quick sidebar here that it feels really dirty to talk about the defense when they gave up 14 points.
That's right.
Like it feels kind of icky to be mad about some of the stuff on defense when they did as well as they did. I'm with you, Reggie. Hey, this is what got us here. These are the guys we got here with, but you still don't have to have it there in every situation. Like,
yeah.
Jaylen Smith and Kamari Lassiter and Derek Stingley could have easily been the corners on the field on 3rd down. And I mean, I saw Jaylen Smith go in there in the few plays that he did get to play and stick his nose in on the run game. We know Kamari Lassiter does that. Like those guys could have handled one rush from Kyron Williams if you wanted to at least be aware that the passing game may be a threat there on 3rd and 8. So the Pitre thing, that's, it's not my favorite. He was the worst regularly playing coverage guy on the team last year. So it hadn't got much better yet.
Landry.
Nope,
we still can't hear him. Oh man.
That's like that's how I felt when Woody Marks got in the game.
Well,
and I was like, oh, he got tripped up by the shoelaces.
Hey, you back?
This has never happened in the entire 3-year history, but it is what it is.
Well,
but anyway,
I've said that before.
Yeah. The Pitre thing, it goes back to kind of coach's favoritism. I think it's an interesting thing where he's one of their favorite guys, and for whatever reason they leave him on the field no matter what. And it goes back to the coach favoritism. And if this team's going to win games, the defense is going to have to be elite. Efforts aren't going to be enough sometimes, and that's the problem with what they're doing right now. when it comes to Pitre and everything else. So I am very frustrated by Jaylen Pitre. I don't know if they're going to adjust, but as I was saying before, stuff kind of crapped out. As soon as, if you're a Texans fan and you give up as soon as the game's done, as soon as you saw Puka Nacua go in motion and you saw number 5 go in motion with him, you should just turn your TV off, because that was a wrap there. That was it. And that's unfortunately something that they do too often. And it's very hard. It's very hard to hide. And it's sad. It's more frustrating when you're trading up for a cornerback and you're not using him.
Yeah, we're getting it's interesting. We have a message in the chat from Jacob that says, and I think this speaks to maybe the favoritism thing with certain guys, or how DeMeco, look, part of what makes DeMeco a coach that guys want to play for may be the very thing that clouds judgment sometimes when it comes time to decide who's out there doing things at crucial points in the game. Jacob says, I think the Texans need to treat players somewhere in between the way they treat them right now and treating them like a number. Find that happy medium between, just
it's a whole spectrum, though.
Completely cold and callous while also embracing them and giving them a hug. That is a tough balance. It's a tricky. It's how I treat my kids, somewhere in between those things. I can tell you from experience, it's a very hard thing to do. Treating them like a number while showing them the love that's necessary.
Somewhere between Luno and DeMeco.
Yeah, exactly. Who is the perfect balance? Who is the Lumico out there that we can go find? Yes.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
The O-line shuffle is something else that do y'all have any issue with the way that they're doing it? Because that's one of the popular. Well, why don't you plug in Juice Scruggs? Why are they making it so difficult? Do y'all have any problem with the O-line shuffle?
Well, yeah.
After one game, I do.
How would you change it? Like, what would you do? I mean, they have the cards they're dealt. Obviously, it's not ideal, Cody. I'm saying, like, what would you rather just put Juice Scruggs in at right guard?
Well, it's one of those things where they shop for the groceries and then they open the fridge and they're like, there's nothing to eat. It's like, you put these guys on the team.
Yeah.
Like you watched all of training camp. You watched Blake Fischer go out there and get beat like a drum by second and third team pass rushers. Solomon Byrd is on the practice squad because Blake Fischer couldn't block him. And you're like, yeah, let's go ahead and keep Blake Fischer on the roster. Well, why? He's a second-round pick. It's tough to get rid of those second-round picks. Yeah, well, it's tough to put guys that can't play football on the football field, too. That's really tough. Like, they set themselves up for this situation. You could have kept some unproven player or some old veteran or something instead of Juice Scruggs and Blake Fischer. But because you have them and you bring 8 guys to game day, you actually only bring 6 guys to game day because you don't want to play either one of those guys.
Yeah, they need to redo the depth chart and put those guys third string or fourth, because they aren't backups. They're not. Like, Blake Fisher's a third string right tackle. Juice Scruggs might be your 6th string guard at this point. I don't know what the deal is with that. So they don't fit into being the best 5. I don't know what they can do at this late in the season, but you worry about someone's going to get hurt and they're going to have to put them back in there. And this is how sad the offensive line is. We talk about, like, a lot of trades throughout the course of Texans history, and it's like, man, the DeAndre Hopkins trade, that one sucked. I wish they wouldn't have traded Austin Deculus at this point. And that's pretty sad. I'm serious. I would rather have Austin Deculus go out there than Blake Fischer. Like, I would rather a statement be sent where you cut your 2nd round pick in the 2nd season and keep Deculus around just to potentially be that flex guy than the Blake Fischer thing. I'm serious. That's how bad it is, man.
Well, the funny thing is they probably would have gotten more in a trade for Blake Fischer than they got for Austin Deculus, just based on talent level. There's going to be some offensive line coach out there that feels like, we get him in our system. We get him. Look, he's been over this Texans team that hasn't been able to develop anybody on the offensive line in however many years. We get him in our, but they might have at least been able to get a 4th or a 5th or something like that for him.
Scruggs is a bigger issue to me because, one, he's played more. He's been in the NFL longer, and so by virtue, you've got more of a resume of him not being able to get the job done at center, not being able to get the job done at left guard, not being able to get the job done at right guard. And this is a guy that was healthy. And Shaq Mason, off the couch, a month injured, came in and started over him last year in a playoff game. So I got a bigger gripe with Juice Scruggs, because if you had any tiny bit of belief that he could play when Ed Ingram is out, you would have just put Juice Scruggs in there, and you wouldn't have changed the entire way that you practiced for an entire month with this offensive line. But instead, you don't have any faith in Scruggs, and you don't have any faith in Fischer. And so now it's moving everything around, and it stunk.
We might be playing into a little bit of a fallacy, though, treating the movements and the decisions that they're making on the offensive line as statements of fact as to how these players play. One of the things that I was thinking about was just the Cam Robinson thing, like the entire shuffle, which I will say didn't have a problem with. I can defend myself if I want to, or you can just be mad at me. Either way works for me. Sure. But when it comes to the Cam Robinson thing, he might just be you're in the sixth guy that you have on, or he might be a dude who you signed to a 1-year deal with on your $12 million contract, who is a veteran who did not sign up to be a backup. And so the first opportunity you had an opportunity to play him for your entire organizational MO of making sure that you take care of players or whatever, we give him an opportunity to get out here and play. I do think that it's more than that. I think that you can go to like his actual ability on the grading curve that, we've talked about, because remember, the 5 that they started with was the preferable 5 before he gets hurt. Now, I know that you guys were out there in West Virginia. You might have started to see the winds changing to some degree on that, but that was the 5 that they were going with. This was the starting 5 that if no injury happens, assuming that, that's not changing, we would have seen. The reason why this gets all crazy is because you had that injury late. But again, I think all of this, we can continue to have the discussion, but all this points to the thing that we started with, which is the talent pool of linemen that you have to begin with is poor. And the problem is the time to fix that is always in pretty much only the offseason, because ain't nobody trading no good offensive linemen this season.
Well, but my thing is, I don't have a problem with shuffle one. Shuffle one was fine. I have no problem with moving Ursary to the left side, and I have no problem with going back to the original offensive line. I agree with you there, Reggie. I don't need to see Blake Fischer on my football field anymore. Like, I don't want to look at him. I don't want to see Blake Fischer on the football field anymore. I'm sorry. I know it's early. We can sit here and say this. I assume that maybe at some point Blake Fischer would be a starting right tackle. I thought it was a chess move when they made the move, and I actually kind of applauded it. But they've shown you they don't want to play him. He's a third string. He's a third string tackle right now. And he goes out there, and I don't even know what the face mask was. It didn't even seem like he was really that beat. It's like he just decided he was going to grab the face mask. It's not like one of those where the guy just completely burns you and you grab his face mask. That's the problem I have, is you got to do whatever you can not to put Blake Fischer on the football field at this point. And they have, but they still haven't done enough.
He looked like it was that scene in Die Hard where Hans got pushed off the ledge. And he's going, he looked like he thought he was going to get pushed off a ledge, and he was grabbing Jared Verse's face mask to hang on so that he wouldn't plummet 100 stories to his death. That's what it looked like at the time.
Of course he gets in, and he doesn't get a false start, which is just 5 yards. He doesn't get a holding penalty, which is 10. He gets a freaking personal foul.
And it was like, what are you doing, man? It wasn't like one of those like what? And he was almost like sitting back drinking a tea or something like that, just grabbing his face mask.
And then Cam Robinson, get your ass back in there. I don't care if your calf feels good or not. Yeah. Get in there.
Well, they had 11 penalties, and I was I'll go look it up later. I feel like they hit for like the equivalent of like the penalty cycle. Like, I think they got like one of everything, like they got like the Cheesecake Factory menu, or like, just give me one of everything on this page right here. They got the one of everything. There was like, it was like they had 11 penalties, and I don't know that there might've been 2 false starts. I don't know. But they had a false start. They had a delay of game. They had an illegal shift. Yeah. They had a blow to the head. I don't know.
Encroachment.
They had a lot of them.
They had
hands to the face. Yeah, man. Like,
they have a PI though? The PI.
I don't think they had a PI.
No PI.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't put that on the secondary. Don't do that to them.
No. It's hard to get 11 penalties for 80 yards and have a PI in there. If you have a PI in there, it's 11 penalties for like 125 yards, because it's going to be one that's down. Yeah, dude, the penalties.
And the fun thing is, if you get 125 yards, you still don't have as many penalties as the Tennessee Titans.
That's right. We should hit Cade Stover. We have not talked about that yet today. That's the one big news item today for the Texans. For those who missed it, Cade Stover is going to be out indefinitely with a broken foot. I feel terrible for Cade Stover. One, I feel terrible for this offense too, because he's the best tight end that they have all around on this roster right now when it comes to blocking and catching the football. He had been, since the beginning of camp, somebody who showed up in the run game, blocking. This is going to be, especially at a position, guys, where they've only got now they have one body on the 53-man roster that's a tight end, and it's Dalton Schultz. That's it. So the floor is yours, guys, whoever wants to take that one and run with it. But that's a big loss for the Texans, I think.
I'm going to ask you guys, because I know y'all all have a little bit of nerd in you. What's y'all's favorite trilogy of all time?
Ooh,
that's a good one. Yeah, I've got a few.
God, that's such a good question.
Could I interest you in the Jordan Akins trilogy? Welcome back for the.
Oh,
I interest you in. I don't know if he's in shape, and
is he healthy? I think he might be hurt.
Oh.
I don't know. I tried to look it up. I didn't see. I know he had a concussion last year, but I don't know if he's a Little Caesars pizza and he just stays hot and ready. But could I interest you in the Jordan Akins trilogy?
I don't think he was in a training camp.
He wasn't. He was.
Oh my God! You can't sign a guy that went in a training camp.
Hey, trilogy. Hey, desperate times call for desperate measures. In all seriousness, though, the tight end, it's very thin. It is very, 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 very.
You mean like out in the marketplace? Very thin.
It's thin in the marketplace. It's thin here.
Cody,
we've seen all these injuries. It's a tough thing. And Cade Stover, man, this is the second year that you've had him. The emergency appendectomy last year or something like that.
Yeah,
he had that. Now he has this. So, yeah, it's not good. Now, the good news for this is
there's good news.
I think there could be something good to come of this.
Oh boy, okay.
he's eager.
It could force Nick Caley to use like more running backs in the pass game and more slot guys, because that would maybe be like a good counter. But I guess the tight end position, it wasn't great before, and it's even worse now.
It's the only room that they didn't do anything to in the offseason. I mean, they literally brought back who they thought were going to be the three guys from a year ago, and that's who was going to make the roster until Brevin Jordan got hurt. And then when he got hurt, the only other two guys made the roster. So and we've talked about this a bunch of the offseason, Landry. It felt like when they handed everything to Nick Caley, he had to it's like he was on a house renovation show. It's like, now you can't get the new stove, so you can't get a new tight end. You got to have these tight ends. Like, that's it. That's what you got to work with, and that's what they didn't do anything with that room. And now you got Harrison Bryant on the practice squad. I would assume and suppose that he'll get a promotion and he'll get signed to the active roster, or maybe they make the move with Jakob Johnson. And Luke Lachey didn't seem ready based on his preseason performance, and then you can go grab somebody's scraps off the practice squad. I mean, I literally went through every practice squad in football today, and there's not a lot to get excited about at the tight end position on a bunch of other practice squads.
Here's another assignment for you, Cody. Sorry, Reggie. Here's another assignment. Go look at the depth charts of all 32 NFL teams and see if there's somebody worth like a 6th or a 7th round pick. That's your next exercise, right? Okay. I mean, you can make a trade. If they need bodies at this point at tight end. Like, you're not going to go find Brock Bowers. You need you have one guy on your 53-man roster. You need bodies at this point.
No, you're right, Cody. This is definitely chopped. What kind of delicious meal can you make out of Jakob Johnson is what's happening right now. No, and I do wonder if we're doing the turn a bad thing into a good thing in a species manner. I do wonder if this doesn't force them a little bit out of what felt like a lot of condensed type stuff. I know that there weren't actually, funny enough, a lot of 2 tight end sets in this game, but I do wonder if, when healthy, this doesn't put them into, we're using a lot more slots, but then also like really and truly getting quick game and something that looks a little bit more like, I don't know, the Patriots of old, like where they're actually getting after these guys in the short areas. In a way that's actually threatening, as opposed to what it felt like yesterday, which was there's 2 guys in routes at half the time, and they're not actually threatening defenses.
I put up a Pender poll before the show tonight, specifically as a reply to the link for people to watch this. And shout out to the viewers. We've been up well over 200 for the last 20 minutes or so. So appreciate it. Tell a friend. Tell all your friends. Shout
out to all you people, and I do mean you people.
Yes.
Make sure you hit the subscribe button.
Reggie, don't look at me like that. I was talking about.
Sir, you got to understand, it's a natural reaction. I hear that phrase, and that's what my face does. It's just what it does.
Oh man. So this was the poll I put up for Texan fans. What are you most concerned about after week 1? And one of the choices is other. I have 3 choices, then other. I told them to tell us what it is if it's other. But the 3 choices that weren't other were offensive line shuffling, penalties, play calling, and other. I don't know if you guys have looked at this, but does anybody care to take a guess as to what's winning the poll right now?
O-line all day. O-line's going to win. Any negative leaning poll, offensive line's going to dominate. And I'm going to say the over-under is by at least 21.5%. And I'm not looking at the poll.
Okay.
I would like other just because it feels like there's a lot of things that you can get into.
Other is only 13.7%, tied with play calling. Penalties, 24.5%. To Landry's point, almost half the voters, a few hundred votes in, 48.1%, O-line shuffling, which is, what did you say, Landry, by 21.5%?
Yeah,
that's pretty good. You're within 2 or 3%. That's not bad. Yeah, good job.
What's funny about the O-line shuffle as well is the dude who, by some metrics, was probably the worst offensive lineman was one of them that was not going to move in Laken Tomlinson. Like, one of my favorite dudes on this team. Like, he's a really good dude, but he wasn't particularly good at left guard, and he wasn't in no shuffle. Like, I just feel like this is not as much about the shuffle as we wanted to do, but it gets the people going.
Well, and they're about to shuffle it again because Jake Andrews left on a cart, so that doesn't seem like that's a good situation or that's going to be something that's fixed in a few days before Monday Night Football. So Jared Patterson, who couldn't beat out a guy who had played 0 snaps at center in the National Football League in his first couple seasons. Now Jared Patterson's the center. And I like Jared, and he's a nice guy, and he's accountable last year for the offensive line when nobody else wanted to be accountable.
He's an adult.
He doesn't exactly inspire a whole hell of a lot of confidence.
Cody, you got real loud.
No, he gets, as soon as you start talking about centers and guards, Cody he gets really excited about this. But I said adult because last year I went to talk to Jared Patterson, and I asked Aaron Wilson, aka Alpha Aaron. I asked him, "Hey, what is Jared Patterson like?" And he goes, "He's an adult." He just goes, "He's an adult," and I was like, okay, well, I guess that means the other offensive linemen aren't. So I'll go over there and I'll see what's up with Jared Patterson. My thing with that Andrews injury, I don't know if Andrews is good. The other thing is we don't know if Ingram's good. That's the weird thing. Like the legend of Ingram has all of a sudden grown, and he was the Minnesota Vikings version of Kenyon Green. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, once we get Ingram back, then everything will be good. What if he really is the Minnesota Vikings Kenyon Green? Then it might even get worse. So that's something else. But as far as Andrews, he walked off the field like he lost a contact lens. And then next thing I know, he's getting carted off the field. Like we didn't even know how serious it was until you look down and you see like the cart going off the field. But he just walked off there, and then all of a sudden he's done. But now I like Jared Patterson. I think of all the backups that like on the actual depth chart, not with all the shuffling, I think Jared Patterson is probably the one that you feel the best about.
Am I an idiot? Feel free to say yes, by the way. Fair enough. Am I an idiot for thinking that Jared Patterson actually probably plays better than Jake Andrews? I feel like Jake Andrews probably just has a better understanding of the system, and that's probably why he got the leg up. Or we could just be doing favoritism again. That could be part of it as well.
Oh, yeah. You mean like when the offensive line coach coached him in college, the only year that he played center when he was yeah.
That specifically, yes.
Maybe a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Jarrett is well educated and is a quick study. I can assure you.
Wonder why you say that.
I can assure you.
A lot of good. The alma mater's done Blake Fisher.
If there's one thing that we crank out at the University of Notre Dame, it's adults. All right.
Well, Blake Fischer,
adults, not good at right tackle.
But he pays his taxes.
A bona fide adult pays his taxes, balances his checkbook, calls his mom every day, sends flowers.
If he's still using a checkbook, then I don't even want anything to do with him.
Checkbook, baby. Yeah. I have a checkbook. I never write checks, but I keep track of my money in the checkbook. I find when I write things down, I'm more mindful of them.
Do you know what I did back in the day? The last time I remember touching a checkbook. Now in college, they try to have you do the checkbook, but I stole one of my mom's checkbooks and I was writing like fake checks to like NBA free agents. I remember Alonzo Mourning goes to the Heat and I was writing like $55 million on the check and like doing like the fundamentals of like all the
0 cents.
Yeah. 0 cents.
How old were you when you were doing this?
Whenever Alonzo went to the Heat. So,
okay. So like back
very,
in the,
very
in
young, like
the
just
90s.
starting to
Okay.
write
Okay. That would have been too early for me to dupe you into writing child support checks for me back then.
Jesus. We got real quick. All right.
Hey, kid, Catherine is spelled Cather. So there's the Pender poll. Do we hear from D'Amico tomorrow? This week's all sort of jacked up, right?
Tomorrow noon. Tomorrow
night.
is your Monday, as you've slid for Monday Night Football. Can I just throw? I don't know if I'm allowed to throw out chats that happen, but I'm doing it anyways.
Do whatever you want.
JB Allen, the Annihilator, says, "Where's that Eli Cox kid at?" And I love the optimism to look that deep on the depth chart and go, "Is that the answer?"
I thought about him yesterday. I forget who I said it to. I texted somebody. I'm like, you watch. Eli Cox is going to wind up playing for this team this year. I mean, we lost the starting center 1 week into – we're on pace for 17 centers to play for this team this year right now. Yeah.
And that's why you have him move around, because you're going to need it.
You're going to need it. Eli Cox, man.
This is how sad this is, and this wasn't even our approach. So Reggie is very excited about Jared Patterson. Someone in the chat is excited about Eli Cox, and I am mourning the loss of Austin Deculus. So that's kind of where we're at on the offensive line right now.
That's what they've done to us. Instead of spending $70 million to fix the offensive line, we have to lament the loss of hey, did Jalen Thomas get added to a practice squad anywhere?
Yeah, I thought about him. Yeah.
Can they bring him back? Yeah. What about Ladarius Henderson at this point? I don't know.
Don't do that to me again.
And I'm here convincing all of you to let Blake Fischer do your taxes for you. That's where we. that's where we are. That's where we are right now.
Might not be a bad side hustle, honestly.
Hey, man, it might be an accounting major. You never know.
He's going to need a new job pretty soon.
Yeah, man.
Ooh. Where is Egan Quinteriano, by the way? Chase put it up in the chat. It might reemerge, Cody. You know, I couldn't quit him. It was
Who's
very
your guy.
Even though it's in his name, it's literally in his name. Why couldn't you do that?
Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. It just could not. I just kept thinking Tegan Quinteriano. Never happened.
He's on the Falcons, by the way. So
okay, that's right.
He's on the Falcons.
Okay, that's a good question. I shouldn't have assumed that he'd make the 53. Is he? God bless him. Shout out to Tegan.
They somehow, for some reason, have 4 tight ends, which is 4 in concept of the Houston Texans, who only had 2. They had twice as many. Had 2. Now they have 4 times as many tight ends as the Texans.
The Houston Texans.
He has Quit and No in his name. Quit and No, and
you wouldn't do it.
Yeah, you wouldn't do it.
Is there anything positive that we had? Because I feel like we've just been negative for 53 minutes straight. Is there
Kaimi Fairbairn looks like weeks 1 through 5 Kaimi from last year.
Hot weather Kaimi is still alive. Now, if it gets below 40, he hates it. He's my spirit animal in that matter. So there is that. The defense is still really, really good. Yep. Like the defense is so good that we're kind of nitpicking the defense that they gave up 14 points. I think that's solid. CJ Stroud used his legs.
Yes.
He used his legs and it led to 6 points. So I think that's something he's probably going to need to do a little bit more. But 6 of the 9 points that you got, CJ Stroud created by using his legs and moving the chains.
And Cody, by the way, that using his legs, you talk about where's the counterpunch. I do wonder if that's the thing, making your quarterback into kind of a running quarterback.
Oh, that'll be good. Sure. For a guy that has a shoulder injury history, let's go out there and have him run. That'd be good. Hey, sometimes when you have a really nice truck and it's been a long time since that truck's been a really nice truck, you turn it into a work truck. That's kind of what Nick Chubb is right now.
There you go.
The Nick Chubb work truck. It worked out really well.
I love that so much.
And Cody held on to a truck for like 10 years too long. I remember that white Ford F-150, whatever the hell that was.
That's true.
I'm worried about Nick Chubb, though. I thought he performed at a very good level yesterday. But if you listen to what D'Amico Ryan said after the game, I don't like when defensive coordinators meddle with offensive coordinators to a certain point. And he said we need to run the ball more. I think the slice of pie that Nick Chubb got yesterday, I thought it was enough. I think at this point in his career, if Nick Chubb gives you that, then that is phenomenal. And he set the tone. He had 20 yards before they set up that opportunity after the roughing the passer penalty before the 2-minute warning. He set the tone and he looked very, very good. But I don't want them to get to a point where because Dameon Pierce is doing what he's doing, and Dare Ogunbowale does what he does, and for whatever reason they don't trust Woody Marks, where all of a sudden they're just saying we got to run the ball more, which means Nick Chubb, let's give him the ball 20 times. I don't think that's a recipe for success, and I don't think that ends well. And I hope that D'Amico, if they are going to run the ball more, that means more Woody Marks, because that's just really what I want to see is more Woody Marks.
Devil's advocate for 1 second on the Nick Chubb thing, and I was thinking about this yesterday, and I used to think about this when Arian Foster used to get his soft tissue injuries or injury. He had that back injury that knocked him out for like 9 games to end the 2013 horrible season, is that Nick Chubb had a foot issue and a knee, obviously a severe knee injury. His body has not taken a ton of beating over the last couple of years. He's only played in 8 or 9 football games in the last 2 seasons. The odometer from head to toe on a running back is truly a head to toe odometer. And look, the knee he's never going to be the Nick Chubb that we saw back when he was averaging 5.6 yards per carry. That guy's not walking through that door. And the foot doesn't help either. That, affected probably how his offseason was. But in terms of the amount of punishment he's taken, Landry, when I think of a guy touching the ball 20 or 25 times, I just think of the head-to-toe beating, especially on a guy who's 30 years old and has been a bell cow back in the league. The fact of the matter is he hasn't had a ton of carries the last 2 years. He may actually, other than just the wear and tear on the body parts that needed surgery, head to toe, he probably feels pretty good, I would imagine.
Are you sure? Because you remember how the Cleveland Browns used him. He might have made up for those 2 years on the front end, if we're going to be entirely honest. We were talking about cars.
I have not looked at the back of the football card. Right?
Yeah, if we're talking about cars, he got the 200,000 miles in the early portion of this, man. Like, what are we talking about? Right. And on top of that, you saw him on the sideline when they cut to you see him, and there's not a better way for me to say this. Y'all saw him sucking wind now, didn't you?
He needed 2 drinks of water. He's the only person I've ever seen tell the water girl to come back. Like, she was like spraying it in his mouth, and she walks away. He's like, no. Yeah. I'm like, he's gassed.
Well, that's not going to be a gift that I grabbed from this video at all.
I thought about that.
I want to ask y'all this, and this might be extreme, but in a world where we've mentioned Eli Cox and Austin Deculus, I don't think this is too crazy. Would you like to see maybe what Jawar Jordan can do instead of Dameon Pierce if that's going to be the workload? Like, would you be interested in that? Because I actually thought he had a pretty good training camp and he had a pretty decent showing. Would we be interested in that?
Or I'm in, yes, because a year ago, I thought there was a chance that a zone scheme, Jawar Jordan, was going to be a thing, and it wasn't a thing because he was hurt. So I'm interested in that, sure. How about, I don't know, British Brooks active, and you could use him as a replace power back when you don't have Nick Chubb to run.
He also can play some tight end too, so I wouldn't be surprised, like as far as blocking, I wouldn't be surprised if like the emergency extreme situation is maybe British Brooks is lining up in the blocking situations, because that was kind of what he did last year, and they had him as a fullback as well. So I could see a scenario where you do have British Brooks active. No
more Dameon Pierce, though. I'm with you on that. No more Dameon Pierce.
Yeah, I think that all those sound like nice creative answers, and outside of reshuffling the offensive line, which, as we've already established, isn't actually all that creative because they just went back to factory reset. I don't know. This team doesn't feel like they're up for creative answers in a lot of ways, which is the weirdest thing about the leadership. Is just why not get a little weird with it at times?
Dameon Pierce was on the field for 7 snaps yesterday, and those snaps included him watching the opening kickoffs skitter past him into the end, through the landing zone, on the ground, into the end zone, and he went and took a knee. And I guarantee you,
that one made me
Dameon
so
Pierce probably thought that he was taking it back out to the 35-yard line. Kevin Harlan didn't know the rule, so there's a chance Dameon Pierce might not have known the rule either. But either way, if he had just scooped it up, he probably would have run it back to the 28-yard line or something. So he cost you there. And then there was the one play where the Rams were trying to run a stunt, and Pierce didn't pick up one of the stunters, and the guy just bailed on the stunt like, oh, my God, I can just run right. I don't have to do any games here. Dameon Pierce just split. It was the play where CJ kind of spun out and hit Dalton Schultz.
Cam Robinson there by himself, yeah.
Yeah, Dameon Pierce totally screwed that up. And then the sequence that we all remember, for whatever reason, they brought him in the fourth quarter for a drive, decided to throw him the football out in the flat. Good thing he dropped it, because he would have lost 5 yards if he hadn't dropped it. It was actually a positive that he dropped the ball. And then the next play, they run him wide.
1 yard.
They run him wide when 2 weeks ago on the post-game show, he told me and Clint Sterner how essentially like, yeah, Bobby did a lot of things like, running me wide. That wasn't really part of my stuff. I really like to get downhill. I'm paraphrasing, but that is what he said. He mentioned Bobby by name. So he ran wide on this play, and Clint and I are both looking at each other like, Clint's like, isn't that what he said he doesn't like to do there, Chief? Yeah.
Not to mention the one play where he tripped all over himself.
He spiked CJ's foot. He stepped on CJ's foot. So, yeah, it was I like Dameon Pierce too, man. I hate these last 2 minutes we just had here.
He's hard not to like. Yeah, that was the bad combo series. I put good combo, bad combo. Good combo, Xavier Hutchinson catch, and then sweet move change. Bad combo, Dameon Pierce drop, 1 yard run.
Yeah, that's it. Before we get out, fellas, thoughts on the Tampa Bay game coming up on Monday night. I think the next time we do this is going to be, I think we're going to do Tuesday next week, right? Since it's a Monday night football game.
Going up on a Tuesday.
1 point favorite, the Texans are. Last I looked, I don't know if that line's moved at all, but we want to go quickly kind of around the horn here on any thoughts leading into Tampa Bay this weekend.
Texans are 0-2 in 2025 against quarterbacks that played high school football in the state of Texas. Patrick Mahomes and Matthew Stafford both got the dub, so they're looking to kind of end that drought. Here's the problem, the concern I have. I think that they're going to be able to rough up Baker Mayfield, although I thought they were going to be able to rough up Matthew Stafford. I just wonder if there were two blueprints created yesterday in which teams are going to try to take away Nico Collins and they're going to attack out of the slot. I don't know if y'all saw what Emeka Buka did yesterday, but it looks like he kind of can do some work in the slot. So is DeMeco Ryans going to adjust? Are the Texans going to be able to overcome that? I think it's concerning, but I think the Texans have a chance to win this ball game, and I think they will win this game. And I think it's going to be on the defense, but they are going to have to really, really, really think about how they guard guys out of the slot, because I can promise you that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be trying to maximize that area just like the Rams just did.
Yeah, and my dumb self had forgotten about Emeka Buka, so shivers. I just keep going back to the fact that they didn't really cover themselves in glory against the Atlanta Bleeding Falcons. So I will retain hope. However, all I got is that right now. Like, I haven't dug deep enough to do that, but I got Emeka Buka on one side, barely beat the Atlanta Falcons, and I go, all right. I guess what I will end on is this: the mantra of Texans fans everywhere all off season. It can't get worse, can it?
Well, they play much better at home. That's a big thing for this team. That they don't have a lot of road wins that you can write home about in DeMeco Ryans' tenure. So they play much better at home. I don't love that big giant human Vita Vea in the middle, just ruining things for this rushing attack that had some success in the middle. So that's not going to be fun to watch. And look, Tampa has a O-line shuffle themselves, and I don't know that the results were exactly what they wanted yesterday. So maybe this Texans front seven can get after that Tampa offensive line and create some chaos, and you do enough to beat the Buccaneers. It's not like they're world beaters.
No. Tristan Wirfs is big in this game for sure. And I'm with you, Cody. That's the thing I was thinking was the home field advantage. The last time these two teams played in 2023, it was one of the best games of the year. I think that was before, in my opinion, before NRG Stadium evolved into a much bigger home field advantage for this defense than it's become. 2024, you had a bunch of quarterbacks come into town who had their worst games of the season. Some of them had their worst games of their careers. All the way up to, other than Lamar Jackson and Will Levis for some reason, but we know who the other, Josh Allen, as Landry just said, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert in the playoffs. Even though it feels like the Texans fan base right now feels very disillusioned with what the offense did in week one, I expect a Monday night football game to have some juice in that.
Oh yeah, and the 6 o'clock start in Houston, it's going to be a full house right from the kick. So we all know it's going to be lined from top to bottom right from the kick. There's not going to be a late arriving crowd in this one. So yeah, it should be a full house
as long as we tell them it's 6 Pacific.
There you go. Doesn't even crack a smile. All right, fellas. Well, this was fun. You can catch Landry on the Locker Room, Landry Locker on YouTube, as I know many of you that are been watching him and Cody, Houston Football with Cody Stutes, of course, SNL on YouTube as well. Reggie, you can catch at 10 a.m. on Sports Radio 610. And me, I'll be up at 6 a.m. tomorrow with Seth C. Payne breaking all this stuff down with the Texans. This was fun, boys. I'm enjoying this very, very much.
Appreciate you guys.
Oh, this is going to be a lot of fun. Make sure if you're watching, hit that subscribe button and take take care of us that way. Throw us a thumbs up on the video. We certainly appreciate that.
We love that. All right, Texan fans, we appreciate you guys, fellas. Have a great week, and go Texans.
Oh boy, here's Sean calling the
No. I gotta. Here we go. End stream, baby. Yeah. See you, boys. I said, see you, boys. End stream. Oh, here we go.
Wow, look at
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Sayonara.